Well, we're going to bring your mind back to our warnings about what the government is up to. And in 2025, there is only one thing on the minds of the UK government cabinet members, and that is war. Let's have a look at John Healey. We'll only watch a minute of this clip, but he does get quite fired up. It's almost like going back to the 1940s with a certain orator who was present overseas. Let's have a listen.
The world has changed. We must respond. The SDR is our plan for change for defence, a plan to meet the threats we face, a plan to step up on European security and lead in NATO, a plan that learns the lessons from Ukraine, a plan to seize the defence dividend from our record increase in defence investment to boost jobs and growth throughout the United Kingdom, and a plan to put the men and women of our armed forces at the heart of our defence plans. A country's armed forces are only as strong as the industry that stands behind them. We will make defence an engine for growth, to create jobs and increase prosperity in every nation and every region of the UK. We will place Britain at the leading edge of innovation in NATO. We will double investment into autonomous systems this Parliament. We will invest more than £1 billion to integrate our armed forces through a new digital targeting web, and we will finance a £400 million UK Defence Innovation Organisation.
Well, there we are. John Healey gets more and more excited. The music gets louder. The drive for war is greater and greater. But don't worry, because the minimum you're going to get out of it is a proper job. So really incredible to watch this propaganda coming out, not only Downing Street, but through the Ministry of Defence's propaganda machine known as Defence HQ. Truly appalling rhetoric by the defence minister, which is all about the beauties of war. Let's have a listen now to George Monbiot talking about Palestine action and how he really sees the agenda which the present government has been ramping up.
Making this video could get me 14 years in prison. In fact, if you share this video, potentially you could get 14 years in prison as well. Because this video expresses support for Palestine action. You can blow the limbs off a child. Fine, no trouble at all. You can directly and deliberately target journalists, academics. You can blow up entire families. You can target people who are queuing for food aid. You can do what the hell you like, and you will not be condemned by this government. But spray a bit of paint on some warplanes, on some weapons of war, and that paint, that becomes a true weapon of war. That becomes a true aggression. That becomes, in Yvette Cooper's words, the disgraceful attack. Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary of the United Kingdom, she has never used those words, a disgraceful attack, about any of the things that the Israeli government has done to the Palestinians. Every day, it murders, it maims, in total defiance of international law, and she has never once used the term disgraceful attack about any of that or any term like it. In fact, far from it, she's happy to be photographed with the Israeli ambassador. Great mates with the representative of a government who is right at this moment committing genocide.
So to me, that seemed a pretty straightforward opinion. On one hand, we've got a government spending and spending and spending for war and bloodshed. But if you dare criticise and take any action, then you're going to be labelled as a terrorist. And of course, free speech is going to be shut down. So quite a brave statement by that journalist. But what else are we seeing? Well, of course, we're now seeing the angst spill over onto the streets. And this is just a few clips from a Palestine demonstration taking place, of course, massive police support, and they then end up arresting some, I think, fairly elderly people who presumably the government now thinks is a threat to the nation state. I notice, of course, the amount of gear these police have got on compared to our police of old with their truncheon. We've now got the tasers and the handcuffs and the radios and the sprays. And of course, very, very aggressive policing. So do they really need to cart this elderly lady off in this manner. And then she's asked as she gets up into the van if she's happy to be searched. So if that's one level of protest going on, let's see how immigration is ramping up trouble on the streets by having a look at what's been happening in Ireland.
Prophet Muhammad, your warlord, has no power here! And whose country is this? So you will not come here and dominate and walk and disrespect us in our churches, in our national monuments! You will respect the Irish people!
Well, of course, the migrants present in Ireland didn't invade. They didn't fight their way ashore. They were invited in by Irish politicians as part of the EU's overall migration policy. And this is the truth of the matter: the trouble on the streets being created by our own government's policies. People need to remember this. Now, let's have a look at the wars, because, of course, the government here still absolutely supporting everything Ukraine does. We support it. We help fund the killing machine. But this is yet another of those nasty little clips about what's happening on the streets as the Ukrainians round up young men, bundle them into cars in order to take them off to die at the front. Watch the brutality here when this mother tries to intervene. So the report in this little posted video is that Zelensky's doing awful things and Ukrainians hate him. But of course, you're not going to hear that from the West or the UK. And if we have a look at the propaganda coming out from Defence HQ, we've talked about this sort of thing before, but here we've got basically the idea that the Russians have kidnapped all the Ukrainian children in their thousands and thousands, and they've never been given back. Whereas, of course, we've heard clear statements from the Russian side that they've asked for lists of these supposedly missing children. And of course, nothing ever comes back from the Ukrainian side. But Ben, appalling propaganda here. And I think it's pretty sickening. So that's just a little summary of the sorts of things that the UK government is getting up to. It is our own government that's attacking us. And if you can't understand what a policy is really doing or designed to do, try putting your mind over to the side that we are being attacked. And very often you will start to understand what's actually being done.